And so I
Yeah.
did end up getting about a $30,000 increase over about a 6 month period.
Okay.
But still, that doesn't make up for the 10 years they were underpaying me that I didn't see the numbers,
Correct.
right? Because when
Correct.
you don't see the numbers and no one's speaking about those numbers,
Mhm.
you have no clue. And I think,
Imagine,
mhm,
imagine if after that conversation they gave you the back pay from
mm,
the last 10 years that they'd been underpaying you.
exactly. Now that would be game changing.
Hey, I'm Teen Zekas.
And hey, I'm Ilika Follette. We are business owners and moms with corporate backgrounds, and we are all about getting Black women paid in both corporate and business.
And you're listening to the Getting Black Women Paid podcast.
Let's go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode. So today is an episode I know y'all been waiting for because we've been like hinting toward this episode for a while. Today we are going to talk about Black Women's Equal Pay Day, right? Because we all know so many of us have been in a situation where we are not getting the pay that the person next to us is getting. And some of us, a few of us, have actually been in a situation where we can see the actual numbers and we see all the Black women are lower.
Yep.
So this is one of the things that we're going to talk about today. And I'm Ilika Follette, and I'm going to pass it over to our other host, Teen Zekas, and she's going to really go into it. So let's go. This is
Yes.
a great episode today.
Yes. So, yeah, again, I'm Teen Zekas, and this topic is so important. And for all of us, we know anecdotally, right, that many of us have been in the position where we're not earning what other people are in the same role, or even people below us, right?
Mhm.
But I want to get into the stats real quick because the numbers back it up, right? This is not just our perception.
Yes.
So, Women's Equal Pay Day, um, this year, 2024, was on March 12th, and that marks the day where, women on average in the U.S. needed to work up until March 12th to be able to earn what white men earned in 2023.
Mhm.
And we split it up into like all these different days. Black Women's Equal Pay Day isn't until July 9th. And
Ooh.
that's because in 2023, Black women working full time year round were paid 69 cents for every dollar that white men were paid in 2023. And then if you add in part time and seasonal workers, that number goes down to 66 cents to the
Mhm.
dollar. And as we break it up by race, excuse me, we have Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander women. Um, they're also getting about 66 cents to the dollar. Native women, it's down to 59 cents. Latinas, 57 cents.
Mhm.
So we have all of these different equal pay days, right? So Black Women's Equal Pay Day this year is July 9th. Mom's Equal Pay Day is August 7th. We can
Mhm.
talk about that too. Latina Equal Pay Day isn't until October 3rd. Native Women's Equal Pay Day is November 21st.
Wow.
So think about that. Work until November 21st of 2024 to earn what white non-Hispanic men earned in 2023.
Yeah. So really just breaking that down just for
Mhm.
the listeners even more so. So if a white man worked from January 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2023, they made X amount of money, let's say $100,000, right?
Yep.
In order for a woman to earn that same amount, that same $100,000, they have to work from January 1st, 2023 to May 12th, was it? Or March
March
12th?
March 12th.
March 12th,
Mhm.
2024. And for a Black woman to make that same $100,000, they have to work from January 1st, 2023 until July 9th, 2024, in
Yep.
order to make the exact same amount that that white man earned in 2023. In order to make that same amount that that white woman or,
Right.
earned,
Right.
right?
And I didn't get into it. Asian
Mhm.
American women
Mhm.
are currently at 99 cents to the dollar that white men
Oh,
make. So
oh,
they're almost there
you're there. Well,
in terms of equity. And white women are also pretty close. They're at 80 cents. And so it's
mhm.
as you break it down and you combine the sexism and the racism, that's when we start getting, this very impactful pay gap. And then add on top of that that Black women are the most educated, have the most degrees, and the most disproportionate burden of student loan debt
Mm. Wow.
on top of getting less pay, right? So that's kind of the the
Yes.
backdrop of where we're coming from this. But I did want to mention um, Black Women's Equal Pay Day last year in 2023 was later in the month. It was July 27th. In 2022, it was September 21st.
Mm.
So we are making progress, right? So
Mm.
we've gone
Slowly.
in that one year we went from September to July, but we're over here trying to get to January 1st or trying to get to we don't even have to have a day.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. Just
They
pay
wanna
me what he getting. It's like
correct.
going into a job offer. Like they send you the offer. You're like, well, what do you make, sir? Pay me
Right.
that. You
Right.
know?
I cannot tell you how many times I've talked to women who have found out that the person they are oversee the person they manage is making more than them.
Oh yeah. Hmm.
And
That
it's
actually happened to me.
that happened to you?
Yes, it
Okay,
happened.
tell us the story.
Yep. Yeah, when I was at a Fortune 100 company, I was managing a leadership development program and things like that. And once the folks promoted out of the program and promoted into a new role, they would get a significant increase. Well, what started to happen is that significant increase in the promotion was more than what I was making. So I immediately
Mm,
went to, HR, I went to my manager, I went to all these people. I'm like, this is not okay. Like, you guys have been severely underpaying me. And I also found out from this person, this person, this person, I didn't say
right.
the names, but that they're also making 25K more than me. And this person's making
Mm,
50K. And we all are doing the exact same role. And actually, I'm doing it better. Like
that
it's
part.
very like well documented that I am doing it better,
Right,
right?
you're getting better
So
results,
exactly.
mm, mm,
Better feedback, all the things. So why on earth would I be being paid this much less? And so I
yeah,
did end up getting about a $30,000 increase over about a 6 month period.
okay.
But still, that doesn't make up for the 10 years they were underpaying me that I didn't see the numbers,
Correct,
right? Because when
correct.
you don't see the numbers and no one's speaking about those numbers,
Mhm.
you have no clue. And I think,
Imagine
mhm,
imagine if after that conversation, they gave you the back pay from the
mhm,
last 10 years that they'd been underpaying you.
exactly. Now that would be game changing.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm.
I
But
hear you.
I love that you spoke up. I love that you right, like, in the moment
Right.
when you did see now I do know the numbers, now I do see this very
Mhm,
blatant injustice, inequity.
right.
You went to them, you told them what was what, and they couldn't argue with it, right?
Exactly. Because here's the thing. What's really funny is, and you don't know. But thank God you're first of all, folks are we have this show, right? This podcast, because now people are learning the tools and they can work with you team to get more of these tools and
Mhm.
really start standing into it. But I didn't know what I didn't know as a 28-year-old
Right.
black mom, married mom, right? I had no clue. And
Mhm.
so what was happening was not only was I being underpaid, but I was asking, I was like, hey, I would love to get a raise. I'd love to get right over that 100,000. Like, I'm not
Mhm.
there yet. Like, what can take me closer? And this was before the other, anybody. I knew what anybody else was really making, but I was like,
Right,
I
but
know
they
that.
knew.
Right, exactly. And I'm
Mm,
like, and I know what I'm bringing to the table. So, can you? Actually, I was 30. I want to actually no, I was 29, about to turn 30, and my goal was to hit 100 before I turned 30. That's what it
gotcha,
was.
gotcha, yeah.
So I was like, if you could put in, like, I want to figure out how do we get me to 100 by
Mhm.
this date? Like, what? And they were
Right.
acting like they just didn't have the money. They, what? I can't, we can't really do it. And I was like, and I remember one of my managers said, you know, when I started at this company, we had regular soap. Now they're watering down the soap. So, clearly they're trying to save money everywhere. There's really nothing I can do. Right. And I believed her. I
Right.
believed her. This woman, this woman was lying. She was one not about the soap thing. That was a thing, because they were using the foam soap now, right?
Yep.
That was actually kind of true, right? But she was definitely lying about, not
Mhm.
having the money because other people were still getting these
Right, right,
raises.
and I'm so glad you mentioned that because so many of us are, it's ingrained in us. We don't talk about money.
Mhm.
Oh, certainly not with your coworkers. It's taboo. It only
Yep.
benefits the company
Mhm.
for the pay to be for it to be opaque like that, for it to be so they could say whatever about,
Mhm.
oh,
Yep.
we would love to. It's just not possible.
Mhm.
When if they knew, or if you knew at that time while they were saying that people were making 25, 50K more than you could
Exactly.
immediately be like, okay, well, you
Mhm.
have the money for these other people who are not delivering what I'm delivering.
100%.
Maybe if
It's
you're
a
really struggling, you need to let one of them go because I'm doing twice the work anyway. Give me their
exactly.
salary.
Yep. It's a way of control. It's a means for
Absolutely.
control. Hey, don't share your salary. You know, and
Mhm.
they're saying it to you as if I'm paying you more. So if you share it, then others are gonna, that's almost they
Right.
aren't
Others
saying
are
those
going to be
words.
jealous. Right.
That's the feel that they're giving you,
Mhm.
like, don't talk about your
Because we
salary.
stretched as far as we possibly could for you.
Right.
So we don't
And
want you to go tell
mhm.
everybody else this great thing we did for you.
Yep,
Yep.
exactly. You know
Mm,
what?
mm,
You
mm,
know
mm.
who the only people who don't share their salary is? Black people. My white friends, that's who told me that they
Mm,
were making this, and that's how I
mm.
found out. That was part of how. I mean, I saw the numbers of the folks who were promoting, who were under me, who were
Mhm.
reporting. So those numbers I could see, but I couldn't see my colleagues' numbers. Guess who came and
Interesting.
told me? My white colleagues. They didn't know how much I was
Mm.
making, but they just told me what they were making. They were not, and it wasn't ingrained in them since they were born not to talk about money and
Right.
not to talk about what you're making,
Mm.
right? We were always told that as Black people, uh, don't talk about money, don't talk about how much you make because
Yep.
somebody's going to try and get it, or whatever reason that we were given. I
Mhm.
remember, I remember like really being like clearly being told not to talk about money. So when I remember getting my first offer, my first company, I didn't tell anyone, what I was making, and I don't
Mm.
even think my parents asked. You
Mm.
know, it's
And then we are in there not having any clear sense
yep,
of what we should be making,
exactly.
right?
Mhm.
Someone's just gonna say some number, and I'm like, "That sounds high, that sounds
Yep,
good because 'cause I've never made that much before," and we have no concept of, well, this other person started out 20K higher than that.
exactly.
Why am I getting lowballed?
Yep.
It's, it's frustrating, and I think the biggest thing we can do is start talking about it.
Mhm.
Right, even if we're talking about past roles, as we're telling the stories about my first role out of college or
Mhm.
my first promotion or whatever,
Yep.
talk about those numbers and
Exactly.
normalize, saying those numbers out loud,
Mhm. Yep.
because without that, people are sitting here like, "Ooh,
Oh,
45,000, that sounds
right.
like a lot."
And they think they're good making it, right? And
Mhm,
now, think I will say what's really great is that now we have people have things like Glassdoor and salary.com and things where you can go and look
mhm,
at numbers, right? But
mhm.
not even those are 100% correct, so it's
Right,
like
that's all self-reported, so it's the people
exactly.
who have any kind of motivation to share that
Mhm.
number are putting it
Right.
in.
Exactly. And sometimes it's company reported. And some of the
Mm,
information there can even be false. So it's like, that's not even 100%. Talk
mhm,
to your friends, talk to your sisters and brothers, like ask the question. Because one thing that I will never forget, and this is what pushed me to continue to talk about money and ask about it, is in my first position, we about a year after we got raises based on our performance and stuff. And I
mhm.
was so excited because I'd gotten a raise of $9,000, right? And it was 15% because I was making 60. Now I was making 9,000 more, so
Right,
$69,000.
15% isn't too hard to
Right?
offer someone who's
It's
already
underpaid.
completely underpaid. Yep,
Right?
yep.
Exactly. Not knowing that at that level that I was at, people were making 90, 100, right?
Mhm,
But so I gotten 15%. So I called one of my good friends who also worked there, and I was like, "Hey, I'm so excited! Just got this raise. I got 15%." She's like, "I got $15,000 raise." White woman. And I
mm,
was like, what?
mm, mm.
15,000. I thought I was killing it with this 15%, right?
Right, right.
And we don't want to, I don't want to talk comparisons, but the fact of the matter is we were doing the same type of role. So
Yeah,
why was she given 15,000 and I was
yeah,
getting
yeah.
15%, you
And
know?
it's so important to talk about it, and I have 2 stories about, the importance of talking about it. One was, When I did negotiate coming into a role, and when I got there, I made friends with some of the other women engineers, and we ended up talking. And we found out that I was making 25,000 more than them. So my
Mm-hmm.
initial offer had even been more than they were making.
Mm-hmm.
And so then when it did come time for compensation discussions, raises, etc., they were able to come to them and say, "Hey, we see that, people are making this now." And so
Mm-hmm.
they both got raised up to where I was.
Oh,
So that
nice.
was huge. The other story I have was even more recent. I was in a role where I found out the person, um, uh, another woman, Asian American woman,
Mm-hmm.
same title, same level, same role, making, what was it, thirty, $35,000 more than me.
Wow. Wow. Mm-hmm. It's normal.
And right, and the only reason I found that out is because I asked.
Mm-hmm.
I was
Yeah.
like, "Hey, I don't think that what I'm getting is in line with the market, so I'm just
Yeah.
trying to collect some data. Do you mind if I ask how much you're getting paid?" And with that framing, it's not threatening to her.
Right.
What, and so she told me, and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's interesting because, here's what I'm getting." And so we were able to talk about it. But, you know, you won't know until you start having the conversations,
Yeah.
until you start asking,
Exactly.
because then now you have the tools to come to the company and say, "Hey, so what
Mm-hmm.
is our policy? What's the pay band that
Yeah.
you are not sharing? Or what is the, um,
Mm-hmm.
what's the equity looking like?" And you're, especially for me as a software engineer, I was often able to say, it's not a great look that the only Black woman software engineer in this company is getting paid $35,000 less than another person with the same title.
Exactly. Whew. And it's major.
Yeah.
And even as I'm thinking about this, and first of all, I think, as we're talking about, this episode around the Black Women's Equal Pay Day, let's also look at, I want folks to go back to our episode around negotiation. If you
Yes.
haven't watched that episode around negotiating your incoming salary, raises, severance, all that stuff, go
Mhm.
back and watch that episode because we gave some really great tips around stepping into a great salary from the beginning. Because
Yes.
even when I think about when we're talking about my situation a long time ago, and this was like early 2000s, guys. So this is 20 years ago. um, but um, but even in that situation, that person that I talked to, she had also come in higher.
Right.
So she was getting a $15,000 raise. It was still more than 15%, to be honest. But
Mhm.
it's still, but the fact is, she came in at 65 or something. I came in at 60.
Mhm.
I got that 15% raise. She got $15,000 raise, which was still more than
Mhm.
20%, right?
Right, but that was on top of what the more she was already making than you. So
Exactly.
that now that gap is widening.
Exactly. And that's exactly what we talked about.
Mhm.
So it's super important to come in at these higher levels or at the level that you want to be coming in at so that the gap doesn't continue to spread. And that's one of the
Right.
major things we talked about in that episode. So
Yeah.
just fall back.
And I do wanna address, this is sort of the elephant in the room that I am constantly struggling with, which is
Mhm.
balancing our conversation around the systemic issues and what individuals,
Mhm.
need to do, or are responsible for, right? Because it is not any Black woman listening to this, it is not her fault that we have these systems in place
Exactly.
that systemically
Hmm.
oppress us and perpetuate inequity.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
I do want to also say, it is the work of society, it is the work of institutions, it is the work of companies to be working towards equity.
Mhm.
And to whatever extent we can hold their feet to the fire and let them know they need to do that, we need to. And in the meantime, we need to get ours, right? And so it's that
Mhm.
balance between, like, yes, it is not your fault, it's not your job to fix society in this way, but we want to make sure you're getting yours. And so
Mhm.
that's where we're having these conversations about, as an individual, what can you do to normalize these conversations? What can you do to make sure you have the information you need, you have the ability to advocate for yourself? So I just want to emphasize that one more time, because I do always go back and forth on like, why am I telling Black people what they need to do when it's really the patriarchy, white
Right.
supremacy, capitalism that needs to change. And it's
Right.
like, well, that's not going to change tomorrow.
It's not.
And I want
She can do something.
every single person listening to this to have a better story to tell for themselves. So I just wanted to make sure we mention that it is not your fault, and we're here to talk about what we can do about it so that you come out of this better.
And that's a great point. I think that's a great way to end the conversation today too. Be sure, guys, we've been doing these episodes for a while, so be sure to go back and watch some of our episodes, especially as we talked about negotiation, because when we're thinking about Black women's equal pay day, this year in 2024, we get to move it from July to January. Ideally it would be December 31st with the rest of them, or it would be the year before, during that year, right?
Yeah, let's get right. Let's get $1.25 to every dollar a white man's making.
But at least let's make some progress. And the way we get to make progress is by you stepping in and advocating for yourself. We will definitely continue to provide the resources and to advocate as well in the ways that we can. We each got to be advocating for ourselves and standing in for ourselves.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. I've been so excited to have this conversation. I've been marking the calendar, seeing it's coming up. I'm like, we got to do this episode. So I'm so glad we're talking about this stuff. To everyone watching or listening, be sure to join the conversation. Let us know what your experiences have been, and what strategies you've used to advocate for yourself. We'd love to be able to incorporate your strategies maybe into a future episode, right? As the more that we can share with each other, right now it's just Ailika and me talking about our own situations, right? We want to make sure, we're taking advantage of the incredible knowledge and experience that everyone in this community has. So keep the conversation going, and let's get that day earlier and earlier in the year until we don't need it anymore.
Exactly. All right. We'll talk to y'all next episode. Take care.
Hey, thanks for watching the Getting Black Women Paid podcast. If you enjoyed the conversation, make sure you like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can catch more episodes like this one.
And join the conversation by leaving a comment below. Be sure to share this channel with incredible Black women in your life so we can continue getting Black women paid.
All right. We'll see you in the next one.